the Bible considers old age a virtue and a blessing. So here you could see on the paper that I have prepared a already sketched face of an old woman. Whenever you're gonna draw a woman's face or a human's face, you have to consider the right proportion of the eyes, the nose, and the lips. So right now I am just trying to sketch and outline the cheekbones so that I could place the hair and where I can place the shadows. So throughout the Bible, old is synonymous with wise. The Bible commands us to respect all elderly, regardless of their scholarship and age, because the many trials and experiences that each additional year of life brings yield a wisdom which the accomplished young prodigy cannot equal. It describes Abraham as one who grew old and came along in days. In Genesis 24:1, his accumulated days, each replete with learning and achievement, meant with that with each passing day increased, there's a ripe old age is regarded as one of the greatest blessings to be bestowed upon man. And I believe that it is true. And as you see me here painting or drawing the body parts of the old woman, I am trying to outline parts of the clothes. We're just having some clean cut. Just to make sure it is on the right proportion. Always remember to have your eraser with you and a well-sharpened pencil. Outline the shoulder with the right distance from the neck. Let's put a little bit of shading where the clothes are folded. Now let's gonna outline the left shoulder as well. You see that I am always prepared with my eraser, so it means that you don't have to be shy with your eraser. Whenever you think it's in the wrong proportion, just try to make it accurate. Remember that whenever you draw, you have to release the thoughts from your mind and imagine that the things you are sketching or painting would reflect the character or the things that you have in mind. So here, as I draw and as I sketch this old woman, I am actually thinking about myself. I'm thinking of the future ahead of me, or about the definition of being old. Because if we base it on our generation now, we would understand a little bit of difference about being old. That once you become old, you must prepare for your retirement, and you must be thinking about where to live. And the worst is that whenever you become 80, you're gonna be placed in a home for the aged, and all the things that you have achieved in your life will be forgotten. So as you can see on the drawing, I have shaded some of the parts of the head because it is there where I'm gonna put the hair. That's the shadow under the hair. Whenever you are facing an old person with white hair, you could see that there's a lot of shadows underneath. So now maybe we're gonna try to bring out the outline of the hair. Always think of the right proportion so that the hair won't look so much thicker than it should be. And because the old lady has a tied hair, she tied her hair from behind, so I have to think of the right proportion and how the hair would look like, and then as well shade it. Certainly, the physical health of the body affects one's productivity. Life is a marriage of body and soul, and is at its most productive when nurtured by a sound physique as well as a healthy spirit. But the effects of the aging process upon a person's productivity are largely determined by the manner in which he regards this marriage and partnership. As we live, we are in partner with life, and we have to get along with it. And sometimes we have to adjust in different circumstances, and those are the things that might teach us, might correct us. There are circumstances that would lead us into a better understanding, and that there might be circumstances that would correct us from the wrong thoughts that we have, or the wrong assumptions that we have about other people. So now I'm just trying to adjust the cheekbone again, and then shade a little bit behind the ear, because that's the shadow of the hair. The sad fact remains, however, that retirement is mandatory or otherwise is a fact of the modern living. Year after year, we know in our generations that whenever we think of the time we're gonna get old, we are mostly thinking of our retirement pension. and most of our families might have forgotten our old people and the memories that they have with them. All the things that they can teach us. Sometimes it's difficult for us to ask. And we pause a little bit from time to time. And the only thing we know are our younger days. So now I am trying to refine the lines of the face, and finally we have to shade it all. This technique is called hatching. So you have to hold the pen the way that I'm holding it, sideways, and try to put a little bit of pressure on the pen. Don't be afraid if it becomes a little bit dark, because that will gonna help you to put on the shadows and the highlights a little bit later. Now let's refine the eyebrows and the eyes. Let's press a little bit harder on our pencil. We are always thinking that we're gonna do a lot of things after we retire, or that we always plan the things we want to do when we go to our retirement plan. So most of us are actually working too much. So by the way, I am doing the hatching technique for the shadows on the forehead, on the side, remembering the right proportion for the shadows, and even on the side, the shadows of the hair. So we have been thinking about the retirement plans and all of the fun that we're going to do when we retire from our jobs. Actually, I have learned that we don't know how to live if we don't enjoy it now, or if we don't take notice of the life right now. We will never know what life will be later. So let's try to recognize the shadows as we proceed with the drawing, because that's how life is. There are shadows that we don't recognize, and the only thing we see are those things that are clear to our eyes. Excuse me for my head. I was too much focused on the eyes. And I think that I too get old so fast because I lose some hair on the top of my head. Sometimes I don't know where they go, but I don't know whom to ask. And now we're gonna correct the eyelids and the eye shadows. Let's put on the right shadows under the eye, on the side of the nose. And let's follow the cheekbone structures whenever we're gonna put on the shadows. You can see from here that the picture is starting to form itself. As I have done the shadings, now I'm trying to put on the wrinkles on the forehead. And imagining the perfect wrinkles when I grow old. You might be wondering why I am thinking so much of myself when I get old. I'm thinking of all the things that I might gonna share to the young generations. I wonder what they would ask me, and I wonder what I would share and what I would tell them. But one thing is for sure, that there's a lot of things in the baggage that I can tell, and there's a lot of wonderful things that I can speak about. So you have seen on the picture a while ago that I shaded the nose in a circle, because on the top of the nose it's a little bit round, and there is a highlight coming on from there whenever we're gonna create a realistic face. So now I'm using the eraser to erase some of the highlight effects on the eyes, refining the shadows under the eyes, on the side, and the wrinkles. Now from this part, I am refining the hairlines, the hair strand, to create a very realistic shadows. So you see that it was pure white while ago because I didn't shade the hair strands yet. Whenever you draw a face or a head or a hair, You should always remember where the shadows are first before you're gonna create the hair strand, because it is there where you're gonna create the life in the picture. And never forget to use the eraser for the highlight to make the white be white, to make the highlights be seen. Never forget that being old meant achievement, not just in your curriculum, not just educational, but remember that it is the achievement of having family, children, and they are the best achievement of a person who gets old, because the family that you have built, the children that you have raised, will speak a lot of how you are as a person in your younger days. The Bible says that the children are the heritage of a person. So they are the continuation of who you are and the reflection of how you have become in your younger days, the perspective that you have transferred on them, and the life's teachings that you share with them. An old person might feel useless. They might feel worthless. But always remember that they have memories that we cannot ignore, and that there are many things in their attitude which are developed through the years. Their white hairs and the wrinkles on their faces witness all the achievements and the development that they have attained all the days of their lives. Some people might be thinking that some old people are not matured enough, and that is probably true. But I believe most of the time that the society dictates that one's later years may be marked by inactivity and decline. The aged are made to feel that they are useless, if not a burden, and had best confine themselves to retirement villages and nursing homes. But on the surface, the modern day attitude seems at least partly justified. It is not the fact that a person's physically weakens as he advances in years. True, the inactivity of retirement has been shown to be a key factor in the deterioration of the elderly. But is it still not an inescapable fact of nature that the body of a 70-year-old is not the body of a 30-year-old? By the way, I'm just thinking that it is the point. Is a person's worth to be measured by his physical prowess? Sometimes those old people have a lot more energy than us who are young, and they have a lot of things to say and teach, while we, the young ones, are just good in talking, and the older ones are good in implementing the measures of the things that they have learned because they have had the experiences of the mistakes. They know exactly how it was. And our attitude toward age reflects our very conception of value. If a person's physical strength has waned while his sagacity and insight have grown, do we view this as an improvement or a decline? If a person's output has diminished in quantity but has increased in quality, has his net worth risen or fallen? Do we measure someone because they are already old and incapable? Just as when the society and system says you cannot work because you are more than a 50, or that you are incapable because you are already old and some things you cannot do. And I think this is the system, but there's more to it than that. The Bible's perspective of old age is the perfection of the years to be managed, to be achieved through life. And the learnings that you can share to the next generation is very important, especially when you are a believer. So now I think I have said a lot about being old. And as you have watched this video, I hope that you have learned about the techniques that I have done under the process of this sketch drawing. And I am so much thankful that you are watching all the way until the end of the video. So I hope that you will look after the people who are old around you. You must have some grandmother, or you must have a mother or a father that is very old. Please do not forget them and do not ignore them. Affirm who they were and let them tell you the stories of their young days. Thank you. I hope that you like this drawing and even the way I sketched it, and I hope that you appreciate how it looks. Well, I do. I appreciate how it looks. I am a little bit satisfied about how it looks right now, and I hope to create again another sketching the next few days, so or maybe next week. So hope to see you again by then. Thank you, Fearless Nation. It's not yet done, but watch till the end and watch out for the logos and the channel arts that I made.